Imagine you're reading a novel and halfway through the setting jumps 200 years into the future. The writing style changes completely. The main character's personality transforms. Would you assume it's the same author? Well, that's exactly what happens in the book of Isaiah. And the ancient scroll found in a cave near the Dead Sea gives us a physical clue. The Great Isaiah Scroll, discovered at Qumran and dating to around 150 BCE, is the oldest complete copy of any biblical book. At the end of chapter 39, the scribe left a visible gap, a blank space, before beginning chapter 40 on a new section. Even ancient readers sensed a break here. Modern scholarship confirms it. The evidence goes far beyond that gap. First Isaiah chapters 1 through 39 was composed around 740 to 700 BCE. Jerusalem still stands. The Assyrian Empire is the threat. The prophet meets kings, receives a dramatic core vision, and warns of divine judgment. Second Isaiah, scholars call it Deutero-Isaiah, comes from the 540s BCE, nearly 2 centuries later. Jerusalem has been destroyed. The people live in Babylonian exile. The oppressor is now Babylon, not Assyria. The text names Cyrus of Persia, a king who won't arrive on the scene until 539 BCE. There's no biography of the prophet, no core narrative, and the tone flips entirely. Not judgment, but consolation. Not warning, but hope. These are minor differences. They point to a distinct author writing in a radically different world. So if this isn't the same Isaiah, who is speaking and why? To understand, we need to feel the weight of the moment. It's roughly 540 BCE. Nearly 50 years have passed since Babylon's army burned Jerusalem to the ground. Solomon's temple, the dwelling place of God on earth, is rubble. The Davidic monarchy is finished. The people live as exiles in a foreign empire, and the theological crisis cuts deeper than the political one. Every ancient nation believed its God protected its land and its king. If your city fell, your God had been defeated. So the exiles face a devastating question. Has Yahweh lost? Has the covenant failed? Is Israel's story over? Into that despair, a voice speaks. Listen to how 2nd Isaiah opens. Comfort, O comfort my people, says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem and declare to her that her term of service is over, that her iniquity is expiated. After decades of silence and suffering, the first word is comfort, not accusation, not more punishment, comfort. And then comes the vision. A voice rings out, clear in the desert, a road for the Lord. Every valley shall be raised up, every hill made low. God is building a highway through the wilderness, a road home, and the image shifts to something even more intimate. God will gather the lambs in his arms and carry them. This is the announcement of a new exodus. Just as God once led Israel out of Egypt, God will now lead them out of Babylon. But consolation was only the beginning. 2nd Isaiah didn't just comfort, it revolutionized how Israel understood God. To grasp what happens next, we need to trace a long theological trajectory. The identity of Yahweh had been evolving for centuries. 2nd Isaiah brought that evolution to its climax. In the earliest layers of Israelite tradition, Yahweh appears as one deity among many in a Canaanite pantheon. Then Yahweh becomes the personal God of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, a family deity bound by covenant. By the time of Moses and the monarchy, Yahweh is Israel's national God. The first commandment says, "You shall have no other gods before me." Notice it doesn't say other gods don't exist. It says don't worship them. Scholars call this monolatry. Worship one God while acknowledging others may be real. 2nd Isaiah shatters that framework entirely. Chapter 45. I am the Lord and there is none else. Besides me, there is no God. This isn't our God is strongest. There is no other God, period. The others aren't rivals. They aren't inferior. They're nothing. Right? That distinction from monolatry to monotheism is one of the most consequential ideas in human history. 2nd Isaiah doesn't just assert monotheism. He argues for it with devastating wit. Chapter 44 contains one of the Bible's great satirical passages. Picture this. A man goes into the forest and chops down a tree. He takes half the wood and builds a fire. He warms himself, roasts meat, eats his fill. Then he takes the other half of the same tree, carves it into the shape of a god, sets it up, bows down before it, and prays, "Save me, for you are my God." And 2nd Isaiah asks, "Do you not see the absurdity? You're worshipping a block of wood, the other half of which is keeping your dinner warm." Chapter 41 takes a different approach. God stages a courtroom trial, summoning the foreign gods and daring them, tell us what is to come, predict the future, prove you're real, and silence. The verdict, you are less than nothing. Then comes the most audacious claim of all. Yahweh declares that he personally raised up Cyrus of Persia, a foreign emperor who doesn't even know Yahweh's name, to conquer Babylon and set Israel free, a pagan king, an instrument of the one true God. If Yahweh can direct the actions of foreign empires, then Yahweh isn't just Israel's God. Yahweh is the God of all nations, all history, all creation. 2nd Isaiah also displays remarkable literary architecture. Scholars identify an inclusio, a bookend structure where the same themes open and close the work, framing everything between them. Chapter 40 opens with the new Exodus, a highway in the wilderness, God as shepherd. It also declares, "The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God endures forever." Chapter 55 closes with the same two themes. The new Exodus returns, "You shall live in joy and be led back in peace." And the unfailing word returns in a stunning metaphor. As rain and snow come down from heaven and do not return without watering the earth, so is the word that issues from my mouth. It does not come back to me unfulfilled. Everything between those bookends is guaranteed. Step back and consider what just happened. A community in exile, their city destroyed, their temple gone, their monarchy ended, faced the most devastating theological crisis imaginable. Every other ancient people in that situation concluded their God had been defeated. The exilic community reached the opposite conclusion. Their God hadn't failed. Their God was bigger than they had imagined. Not a national deity humiliated by a stronger rival, but the Lord of the entire cosmos, a God who works through even pagan emperors, who controls the rise and fall of every empire, who holds all of history in his hands. 2nd Isaiah represents one of the most consequential developments in Western thought. The move from "our God is the strongest" to "there is no God but ours" is the foundation on which Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all build. And at the center of this cosmic theology stands an image of startling intimacy. A shepherd gently carrying lambs. The God who directs empires and summons kings by name is the same God who gathers the weary in his arms. Cosmic power and intimate tenderness held together in a single voice, spoken from exile, addressed to the broken, and still resonating 3,000 years later.